I want to go over how the master prompt looks when I created mine inside of Claude. So we built out the project, told what it's going to do, and then we're taking each prompt from this Google Doc, which we might have in a different format later on. We're copying and pasting the prompt, putting it into Claude inside of this project. And you can see the project here, and you can see this is the chat that we started. And you can see, I just want to walk you through this really quick, how I went and built this out. I copy and pasted this, and then it's going to help me, and it's going to start building a document here, which Claude calls an artifact. Off to the right-hand corner, you can see this little arrow, and you can see all of the artifacts that are there. At the end, we're going to rename this. But this is the artifact that it's building over and over and over and over again. You can see here that there are 13 versions of this artifact. And it's going to get version controlled every single time. And you can see my very last prompt, I'm going to have it add this to the project by clicking this button right here and copy to project. And that's going to show up in my project, which is right here. In fact, I don't need this anymore. That was the example. But there's the business identity. And this is, if you look at it, this is in markdown format. And you saw from the option when I wanted to share it, it comes in markdown. So you can see those little hashtag in markdown tells that this line is going to be bold. That's what an H1 tag would be. This is an H2 tag. These are the various pieces that it's doing. It's just an easier way for a consistent way for other people and systems and computers and coding and computers to know how to type all of this up. And you can see what that looks like. Just looking at these various versions, what's bold and what's not, and the colons, that's in markdown version was what I showed you. But going to the top, I just want to show you how we went through each of these different pieces. Again, I went to the Google Doc, copied this, went through the questions, answered its questions, and then when it got to the end, I went back to the second prompt and added them. So it started creating it. It asked me what's my name, I told it. It asked me what my company name, I told it. Asked me what my role is, I told it. When we were founded, 2025, I told it. And then it said, okay, great, here's the questions it's going to ask me, and here's my answers. Now, some people read to type. I'm not one of those people. I am a verbal communicator, and I prefer to talk. So you're going to see that some of my answers are much longer than what you would type, and short works perfectly fine. But I think out loud. It works better for me I'm on a Mac to hit F5 on my computer and just talk it. So that's how the process goes when I'm working or having to answer a lot of questions. It's easier for me to talk. So you're going to see some of my answers are quite big, and mine are going to be in the dark black, right? So how I want to use AI, it asks me the next question. And then it finishes up and said, what would you like to explore next? Sometimes it can start going into a whole bunch of other different questions, and you're more than welcome to go down into the weeds of those if you want to. But for this exercise, we're just trying to keep it very high level. Eventually, over time, you're going to build this out to be a very robust master prompt. For one of my companies I built this out for, the basic master prompt is 38 pages in a Google Doc. So it gets very specific on all areas of my business. And that's just the basic master prompt. That's not anything to do with finances or org chart or really deep into marketing or things like that. That's just the basic questions that you can build through this. But this is going to get you much further down the road to begin creating this AIOS inside of your business. So you can see I pasted in the second prompt. And it's going to help me do this. It's asking me the question, what pain point or challenge? You can see I went rather long and explained a whole bunch of different things. And it can take all of this is what I love about AI for me. My head's in 1,000 different places. And even when I'm typing, I'm thinking about different things. It's just easier for me to speak it, to get it out of my head, and maybe correct myself because I can listen to myself talk, and sometimes I correct myself. So it's easier for me to do it that way. I know other people that much prefer to type and be quiet and just love the solitude. Whatever floats your boat. But that's how I do it. So again, it's asking me question number 2, how do we help these different people? And I was talking normal language to them. It's asking me question 3. I'm talking about what company structures and team sizes, how to differentiate my ICP. It's gathered all of my ICP. It now wants me to ask what's next, and I go and grab the third prompt, which is help me understand my company mission. And you're going to see this gets a little bit longer of a question. Longer of an answer to these questions. And I go through and answer this perhaps a little bit longer. Some of these are quite long, particularly when it starts getting into what are our core competencies or what are our core values. Some of those things I haven't thought of or I don't necessarily know. And I just have to talk and let Claude figure out what's in my head, which it's extremely good at doing. You can see now I'm asking it to give me 3 examples of communication samples, and it's giving me amazing scenarios, all 3 different scenarios one scenario, but 3 different approaches on how we do that. And I'm actually all 3, but I lean towards the reframe. I love reframing when it comes into the sales stuff. So I say I'm a combo of all 3, but 3 is the closest. So it's going to take those, and it tells me much more about what we're doing. And I start correcting some different things. And for example, like how do we want to be known? And I tell it, we're not trying to change the world. We're just trying to help 500 business owners change their lives. That's what we're trying to do with Build and Scale. If we hit that, then we'll work on the next 1,000. We'll figure out where we get from there. But there's a lot of different things that come into that. So change their life wants to know what change their lives mean. So I talk about it a little bit. And then it starts getting more and more content about me. And remember, not only is it creating a document that I will add as my master prompt, this chat that I'm having is also being saved inside of the project. So it's going to have all of my long answers as part of something that it can pull on later on. Although it's going to retype many of these things to be how it wants us to, an efficient way to do things, but it's still going to have all of this other context that I put in. So that's one of the things I love about using Claude. We jump to what's the next strategic, and I want to figure out brand voice, and it starts giving me internal and external. And again, I think like the second one, I'm correcting it a little bit because it says that we're helping people be strategic advisors, and no, we're really helping them be traditional, real CEOs that are managing companies and running companies. So I had to correct that. So it started changing all of the document to reflect those changes. I said I like it. It says, great, let's move on to core values. And I'm honest. I said, I don't know how to answer this. I don't know what core values are the most important for us, but I know this is what we try to do. This is what I think as a human being. This is what I think as a business owner. And I tell that to it, and it starts pulling out different pieces. This asks me, hey, Rick always, and then I fill in the blank. Helps a business owner look at a problem from multiple different angles and went through the pros and cons of each decision. So it starts giving me these scenarios, and I start responding and thinking about it a little bit. And the cool thing is with using AI, it always remembers where it is. If I have to pause to go take a call, or if I have to pause to go to lunch or take a bio break or whatever that is, I can come back and it will pick up right where it left off. And it's not going to lose any of that information. So it starts developing what those core values are. It starts, I'm asking for brand voice now. So it's going to go through and talk about some of those things. I tell it, again, the next prompt that we're going to draft all of this. We're going to start going into who does what inside of the company. Like an org chart, we're going to make an official org chart later on that we can edit and change. But as of right now, we're adding this a little bit to the business, and we're talking about my co-founder Clayton and what he does and so on and so forth, and what our various people do inside of the businesses. And at the very end, I say, can you retitle this artifact, Build and Scale Master Prompt with today's date as a version control? And it did it. And if I click on this very last one, Build and Scale Master Prompt, and then here's the version. So I'm always keeping all of these versions. So if I'm adding something to the project, I know if that's outdated or not. I like to, and I'm going to show you what I did. I went up here and copied a project. I can also download that as a markdown file. And I can also save that as a PDF if I want to be able to do that. I can also copy all of this by just clicking the button copy, and I can add that back to a Google Doc that I can also save and keep in my own file. So it's here, but it's also potentially in a company file that other people could be able to use. So that's really how we go through, and it's quite simple, creating a basic master prompt for your business that is going to be at the heart of your AI operating system. This is that hub that we're going to be adding things onto as we go through this process. And it's a living document. You're going to be changing things and adding things and explaining things. But because I've been doing this for a while with my various companies and businesses that we're doing this with, and with our clients as well, this starts becoming an amazing situation where really Claude and this LLM inside of this project is becoming the best consultant that it can possibly be. And it's helping business owners, or it's helping department heads, or it's helping managers, or whoever is using this system, this operating system that's based in AI. It's helping them make better decisions. It's bringing them through the question. It's asking the questions and bringing them through the situation to make sure they're thinking about all things. Eventually, we're going to help it build out standard operating procedures, SOPs for various parts of the customer life journey cycle. And so all of these different things are going to become part of our AIOS. So that's how we go through and build a master prompt.